Welcome to day 53 of our Bible reading plan. Today we're reading Exodus chapter 21, verse 33 to verse 36, Exodus chapter 22, verse 1 to verse 15, Job chapter 6, Job chapter 7, John chapter 21, verse 1 to verse 14, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1 to verse 9, and Psalms chapter 53. We're reading from the Berean Standard Bible. Exodus chapter 21 from verse 33 to verse 36. If a man opens or digs a pit and fails to cover it, and an ox or a donkey falls into it, the owner of the pit shall make restitution. He must pay its owner, and the dead animal will be his. If a man's ox injures his neighbor's ox and it dies, they must sell the live one and divide the proceeds. They must also divide the dead animal. But if it was known that the ox had a habit of goring, yet its owner failed to restrain it, he shall pay full compensation, ox for ox, and the dead animal will be his. Exodus chapter 22. Verse 1 to verse 15. If a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters or sells it, he must repay 5 oxen for an oxen and 4 sheep for a sheep. If a thief is caught breaking in and is beaten to death, no one shall be guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, there is guilt for his bloodshed. A thief must make full restitution. If he has nothing, he himself shall be sold for his thefts. If what was stolen is actually found alive in his possession, whether ox or donkey or sheep, he must pay back double. If a man grazes his livestock in a field or vineyard and allows them to stray so that they graze in someone else's field, he must make restitution from the best of his own field or vineyard. If a fire breaks out and spreads to thorn bushes so that it consumes stacked or standing grain or the whole field, the one who started the fire must make full restitution. If a man gives his neighbor money or goods for safekeeping and they are stolen from the neighbor's house, the thief, if caught, must pay back double. If the thief is not found, the owner of the house must appear before the judges to determine whether he has taken his neighbor's property. In all cases of illegal possession of an ox, a donkey, a sheep, a garment, or any lost item that someone claims, "This is mine," both parties shall bring their cases before the judges. The one whom the judges find guilty must pay back double to his neighbor. If a man gives a donkey, an ox, a sheep, or any other animal to be cared for by his neighbor, but it dies or is injured or stolen while no one is watching, an oath before the Lord shall be made between the parties to determine whether or not the man has taken his neighbor's property. The owner must accept the oath and require no restitution. But if the animal was actually stolen from the neighbor, he must make restitution to the owner. If the animal was torn to pieces, he shall bring it as evidence. He need not make restitution for the torn carcass. If a man borrows an animal from his neighbor and it is injured or dies while its owner is not present, he must make full restitution. If the owner was present, no restitution is required. If the animal was rented, the fee covers the loss. Our next reading is Job chapter 6. Then Job replied, "If only my grief could be weighed and placed with my calamity on the scales, for then it would outweigh the sand of the seas. No wonder my words have been rash. For the arrows of the Almighty have pierced me. My spirit drinks in their poison. The terrors of God are arrayed against me. Does a wild donkey bray over fresh grass, or an ox low over its fodder? Is tasteless food eaten without salt, or is there flavor in the white of an egg? My soul refuses to touch them. They are loathsome food to me. If only my request were granted, and God would fulfill my hope, that God would be willing to crush me and to unleash his hand and cut me off. It still brings me comfort and joy through unrelenting pain that I have not denied the words of the Holy One. What strength do I have that I should still hope? What is my future that I should be patient? Is my strength like that of stone or my flesh made of bronze? Is there any help within me now that success is driven from me? A despairing man should have the kindness of his friend, even if he forsakes the fear of the Almighty. But my brothers are as faithless as wadis, as seasonal streams that overflow, darkened because of the ice and the inflow of melting snow, but ceasing in the dry season and vanishing from their channels in the heat. Caravans turn aside from their routes, they go into the wasteland and perish. The caravans of Tema look for water, the travelers of Sheba hope to find it. They are confounded because they had hoped. Their arrival brings disappointment. For now, you are of no help. You see terror and you are afraid. Have I ever said, give me something? Offer me a bribe from your wealth? Deliver me from the hand of the enemy? Redeem me from the grasp of the ruthless? Teach me, and I will be silent. Help me understand how I have heard. How painful are honest words. But what does your argument prove? Do you intend to correct my words and treat as wind my cry of despair? You would even cast lots for an orphan and batter away your friend. But now, please look at me. Would I lie to your face? Reconsider. Do not be unjust. Reconsider, for my righteousness is at stake. Is there iniquity on my tongue? Can my mouth not discern malice? Job chapter 7. Is not man consigned to labor on earth? Are not his days like those of a hired hand? Like a slave, he longs for shade. Like a hireling, he waits for his wages. So I am allotted months of futility, and nights of misery are appointed me. When I lie down, I think, when will I get up? But the night drags on, and I toss and turn until dawn. My flesh is clothed with worms and encrusted with dirt. My skin is cracked and festering. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle. They come to an end without hope. Remember that my life is but a breath. My eyes will never again see happiness. The eye that beholds me will no longer see me. You will look for me, but I will be no more. As the cloud vanishes and is gone, so he who goes down to Sheol does not come back. He never returns to his house. His place remembers him no more. Therefore, I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I the sea or the monster of the deep that you must keep me under guard? When I think my bed will comfort me and my couch will ease my complaint, then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me with visions, so that I would prefer strangling and death over my life in this body. I loathe my life. I would not live forever. Leave me alone, for my days are but a breath. What is man that you should exalt him, that you should set your heart upon him, that you attend to him every morning and test him every moment? Will you never look away from me or leave me alone to swallow my spittle? If I have sinned, what have I done to you, O watcher of mankind? Why have you made me your target so that I am a burden to you? Why do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For soon I will lie down in the dust. You will seek me, but I will be no more. Now we're going to read John chapter 21, verse 1 to verse 14. Later, by the Sea of Tiberias, Jesus again revealed himself to the disciples. He made himself known in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two other disciples were together. Simon Peter told them, I am going fishing. We will go with you, they said. So they went out and got into the boat, but caught nothing that night. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not recognize that it was Jesus. So he called out to them, Children, do you have any fish? No, they answered. He told them, Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. So they cast it there, and they were unable to haul it in because of the great number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he had removed it, and jumped into the sea. The other disciples came ashore in the boat. They dragged in the net full of fish, for they were not far from land, only about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus told them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." So Simon Peter went aboard and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. "Come, have breakfast," Jesus said to them. None of the disciples dared to ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came and took the bread and gave it to them, and he did the same with the fish. This was now the third time that Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. The next reading is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 1 to verse 9. Now, for the matters you wrote about, it is good to abstain from sexual relations, but because there is so much sexual immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise the wife to the husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife. Do not deprive each other, except by mutual consent, and for a time, so you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you through your lack of self-control. I say this as a concession, not as a command. I wish that all men were as I am, but each man has his own gift from God. One has this gift, another has that. Now, to the unmarried and widows, I say this: it is good for them to remain unmarried, as I am. But if they cannot control themselves, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. Now we're going to read Psalms chapter 53, which is the last reading for today. The fool says in his heart, "There is no God." They are corrupt, their ways are vile. There is no one who does good. God looks down from heaven upon the sons of men to see if any understand, if any seek God. All have turned away. They have together become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Will the workers of iniquity never learn? They devour my people like bread. They refuse to call upon God. There they are, overwhelmed with dread, where there was nothing to fear. For God has scattered the bones of those who besieged you. You put them to shame, for God has despised them. Oh, that the salvation of Israel would come from Zion. When God restores his captive people, let Jacob rejoice, let Israel be glad. May the Lord bless the reading and hearing of his word.